tell you.
Sure. We don't want to
Yeah, we
start
are
with
live, I think.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Okay. Namaskar. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bharat Dialogues. Bharat Dialogues is a very unique initiative by ICANN Bengal, India COVID Action Network. And in this series, we should know the tradition, the culture, the spiritual aspect, the soul of India via various talks. We have planned one session every week, and we shall go on with various experts, academicians, professors, researchers, and Indologists. Today is our first session, and we are very privileged to have Sri Nilesh Oak ji with us. Namaste, Nilesh ji.
Namaskar, Vishal ji, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming here from US out there. A very warm welcome from the land of Swami Vivekanand ji, Netaji, and Ma Kali out here. Hope that we are going to have a very enriching session out here. The talk for today is a very interesting topic with respect to the keeping in mind Indian civilization. The topic is the role of Mahabharata in the Indian civilization. And to start with, let us just begin with a brief introduction of Nilesh ji. Although he doesn't need an introduction these days among us, Nilesh Oak is an author, researcher, speaker, and corporate consultant. He holds BS MS in chemical engineering and executive MBA. He has published 3 books and writes extensively on Indian history. Nilesh helps Indians to become aware of the deep antiquity of Indian civilization so that they truly comprehend, present, or defend the grand narrative of India, unlike most other Indic researchers, because he builds it through scientific acumen and logical reasoning. He is an adjunct faculty at the Institute of Advanced Sciences, Dartmouth, MA, USA. Thank you, sir, once again. So, shall we begin with the session, sir?
Yes, please.
So, sir, to begin with, let's just start about yourself something, sir. So, how did this journey start out there? A brief introduction about yourself, sir. Then, how did you really take interest in the Indic sciences and work with it? If you can just say in a few words.
Okay, no, that's good. Now I'll say it in a few words, and I'll say when it started, it was not in any methodical fashion. But now that many years have gone by, when I explain it, I tend to explain it as if it happened in a very methodical fashion, because now I have different frameworks and whatnot. So I will say it how it started without methodical framework, which was simply curiosity, jidnyasa. Okay, and so growing up, I was a voracious reader. My both parents were teachers, and so I had access to books, libraries, whatnot. Primary teachers, they were primary teachers, and while reading, of course, if you read, naturally you get to know, but it also creates more questions. That's the nature of knowledge. It should lead to a higher knowledge. And so, as far as the Indian civilization is concerned, I saw the extreme views. For example, some people will say, oh, everything is in our Vedas. That's one extreme position. The other position is it's all useless. It's all dogma. It's all superstition and of no use. And, I couldn't see, as a young guy, I didn't know what to make of it. But I said, I asked questions, and then I realized I need to find for myself. So that's how the journey began. Now, quickly, I'll tell you the methodical part. Now that over times I have read Nyaya Darshana and whatnot. Nyaya Darshana in Avayava, the 5 steps Avayava process, like how you go methodically about finding something. But there is a other addition of additional 5 Avayava, like a 10-step process. And that 10-step process talks about a jidnyasa, which I found very, very interesting. Okay. So it's not like you start somewhere because your manager asks you to do something or your professor asks you to do something. You start with a jidnyasa, and I felt good that I started with jidnyasa. And then another important thing, which is very important for our viewers to understand, is simply jidnyasa is not enough. which is to say, okay, well, how about if this there in Vishnu Purana, I read something, something, now can we do that? No, that jignasa is not enough. First thing, don't give a suggestion to somebody else. That is very tamasic. Okay, number one. The second one is Shakya Prapti. The word, one of the 10 avayava is a Shakya Prapti, which is to say, uh, when you want to solve some jignasa of yours, try to find the answer. You have to see, is this a doable thing? And the Shakya Prapti, is it doable? Is it doable with the current state of technology, science, etc.? And then the two other words we have to use is Saprayojana and Sandigdha. It should come out of a true doubt, not like you lazily read something and you didn't know the answer, therefore you want somebody to answer. That's not acceptable. And Saprayojana, meaning if we solve that problem, if we solve that curiosity, it should lead to a growth of knowledge. So that's a long answer, but that's how it started.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That was a very interesting answer out there. So, sir, we have seen a lot of Indologists working these days on various aspects of Indian spirituality, science, a lot of things out there. But your working mode is really different. It takes a scientific view or a scientific approach with a lot of logical reasoning out there. So, this one out there, why not a ample proposition out there and then let the people think about it? Why just hit the target at the first go with this lot of scientific reasoning? It, like, I know, like, we are, in order to study Nilesh Oak, you have to do a lot of research work, then only you can understand the core of his subject. So take up this step of scientific reasoning or logical reasoning.
Okay, so what is your question? Like, why specifically this approach?
Yes, sir. Method of research out there.
Research out. Okay, because there is a dearth of this approach. There is a lack of this approach as it comes to the Indology studies. If we go back, let's say, take 200, 250 years, like, so when the British came in, the early British, like Sir William Jones, like came to Kolkata, there as a judge, right? And when he started doing it and he saw some similarity, and that was all exciting journey, I'll not go there. He saw the similarity of Sanskrit and Indian languages with the European languages. But after that, the whole field of Indology came into being. And for most part, until now, there are notable exceptions, but I would say majority. I will very comfortably say 99%. That's kind of, I use that as a number of people have done this Indology studies, including our own Indologists, meaning pro-India Indologists also, in a format that is called formal reasoning, which means like, अरे मैंने ऐसा सोचा, मुझे ऐसा लगता है, according to me, I feel like, this is called formal reasoning. This is a dogmatic way of doing things. There is formal reasoning is reasoning, inferencing without any evidence. Okay. And when I say evidence, I also mean not just evidence in the sense of it is written somewhere in some book. That's not evidence. That is the beginning of evidence. That's a Shabda Praman. So long story short, again, like, why do I selected this approach? Because there is a lack of it. There is an absolute lack of it. Very few exceptions are there. And so that's basically like one reason. But the other reason is that is actually our method. That is a method of modern science to go with the evidence. But that is also the method of our Shad Darshanas. All Shad Darshanas, I mean, they focus on the different aspects of what we want to know. But they all insist that there has to be a pratyaksha. All 6 Shad Darshanas insist that there has to be a pratyaksha. If I'm doing a meditation, if I go in a sakshatkar, I may not able to convince you. I mean, I don't have to convince you, but if I am getting certain experience, I should ensure that it is not a delusion, but it is actually a real experience. So that's the method of Shad Darshanas. That is the method of now modern science.
Okay, sir. Now let's come back to a topic of discussion today. But we have moving on to the first question out here.
Yeah.
In Indian psyche, Indian civilization or the Vedic civilization is almost eternal. So one yug to another, what we understand by the timeline, the yoga, the Treta, Kali Yuga and all, one yug to another and one creation to the next. Based on available empirical evidence, what can we say about the antiquity of the Indian civilization?
Okay, like someone, I had a show a few days ago with in London-based group, Indian group, and they ask a very similar question, which is to say, and that's true. Like we think of our civilization or a group of people, most of us think that's eternal. Like in terms of not our civilization, in terms of the Bhagwan's creation, it's ongoing, one universe after another. In that sense, it is eternal. That is given. Okay, and my very favorite example is, I give this example of our Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, right? So these are our Trinity. Dattatreya comes together. Now,
Right.
see, these are also to be understood, of course, as a deities, but also what are deities and what are Dev? I mean, these are the different powers also. I mean, you see that descriptions in the Rigveda, you see descriptions into Upanishad and many other places. These Indra comes from Indriya, the power of our
Okay.
Indriya and so on. So,
Yes.
so just let's limit to Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. So the Shiva is a Kala. Therefore, like in Ujjain, we have a mandir called Mahakal. There he's
Mahakal,
called a
right.
Mahakal, right? That Mahakal is that infinity, going from minus infinity to plus infinity. And in Shiva
Right.
Puran, we have this story where Brahma goes in one direction, Vishnu goes
Right.
in another direction. They never find the end, right? Because
They
it's
take
going
two
from,
different forms, right? If I'm not wrong.
yeah, it's like a Shiva
Right.
Linga. They go in one direction. One
Right.
Brahma goes in one direction, Vishnu goes in other. They don't find the
Right.
end of it because it's from minus infinity to plus infinity. That is the Mahakal. But then
Okay.
when we talk about a specific civilization, we need a Khandakal. That word also exists. We need a
Right.
starting point. We need a stopping point. Now, if I have to summarize my work of 25 years, I would say, based on the evidence and thousand plus data points from different 10 plus different disciplines of sciences, make us feel very comfortable to say that our Indian civilization, you can call it Hindu civilization, Vedic civilization, Bharatiya civilization, I'm not stuck on the name, definitely is older than 24,000 years. And now myself, but my some wonderful researchers, my colleague like Mrs. Rupa Bhatti, and few others, Srinjoy Roy, he's originally from Kolkata or that area.
Okay.
Bhatiji also has a Kolkata connection, like her mother is from Kolkata, just coincidence, and you are in Kolkata, so I'm just mentioning
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely.
So we are working together, and so Mrs. Rupa Bhatia, she is like researching on different aspects that goes into 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, even beyond 100,000. So this research will take time. It may, I mean, we may be lucky and we will get something out in 5 years. It may take 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Maybe the next generations of researchers would have to take it. But comfortably, we can say that definitely we have scientific evidence that no one, I mean, that can stand the scrutiny of any scientific establishments anywhere around the world. We can say that the antiquity of Indian civilization is definitely more than 24,000 years, and we are already having clues for 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 80,000 years old, and so on.
Right. Right. That was a wonderful answer, sir. And it takes really now, the more we learn about our civilization, the more
Hmm.
proud that we all are Indians out there living in the world.
Yes, the proud and also responsibility,
Right,
because we
sir.
cannot just feel proud, right? Say, for example, a
Absolutely.
blade of grass that flows in the Ganga, from Haridwar to Kolkata, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel proud. It didn't have to do much, so but now what are we going to do to preserve it, but not only preserve but take it to the next level, that becomes our responsibility.
Right. So, sir, you are mainly known for your research work on various scriptures.
Hmm.
You're known for determining the timing of Ramayana and Mahabharata
Mhm.
in most of it and in the most scientific manner ever done by an Indologist.
Hmm.
What are these dates and how did you arrive at them with your research approach?
Hmm.
Can you describe the method out there?
Yes. So the method is, anyone who is working with, say, modern science should know that method. But although I said it should know, doesn't mean even a person can have a bachelor's, master's, PhD in a scientific discipline, engineering or physics or something, and still they may be honestly absolutely clueless about what scientific method is. Okay, and that I have seen many. I mean, I don't have a, people put the doctor behind my name. I don't have a PhD. Okay. But I get tired of telling them to take away that doctor. So I say, okay, call me doctor. I call myself Doctor No, out of the James Bond villain character, the first James
Yeah.
Bond movie. So my initials. Okay. So method is, see, all the scientific discoveries, now sometimes they happen by coincidence, but in terms of scientific theories, the scientific theory is proposed to solve a problem. Okay, just a simple example is, let's say you are going down the steps of Ganga, okay, river,
Right.
going, and suddenly you slip, you slip and you twist your leg, and you just say, what happened? And you look back into those steps, and a stone that you expected there at the step was not there. Okay, so now you're surprised, you are irritated. The reason is, it was not very conscious, but you had an expectation that there should be a step there which was not there.
Okay.
Similarly, the problems that we see, they come into being because we had some a priori anticipation, expectation. So when those expectations are not met, we have got a problem. To solve that problem, we propose a theory. And so once we propose a theory, then we solve it into the triangulation, like Sir Karl Popper says, explanation, prediction, and testing. It's a triangulation of explanation, prediction, and testing. Or
Okay.
in Indian darshanas, we will talk about that as a pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, shabda, pramanani. Again, it's a triangle, and we use some background knowledge. So that's what I used. Briefly, I started with one specific observation. That was the problem. It could not be explained. It was not explained by any other Mahabharata researcher. So I started with Mahabharata. It took me 15 years to solve that, the Arundhati Vasishtha observation. So from 1995 to 2009. But when I finally solved it, it's like a Samudra Manthan. Samudra
Right.
Manthan, long time nothing is happening. Actually, when the
Okay.
poison comes out, and now I see the poison coming out. Many people who don't understand this wonderful, magnificent observation, they just go haywire. They go in all direction, trying to discredit that observation of Mahabharata text. So that is also part of it. When you are doing Samudra Manthan, Amrut will come, but also poison has to come too. Right? So the elephant will also come. So that one observation, the beauty of that was, it gave me a specific time period. It said it cannot be, Mahabharata war cannot be before certain date, Mahabharata war cannot be after certain date. Then I extracted all astronomy observations from Mahabharata text. They came to 300 plus. Then I solved them like a crossword puzzle, like a jigsaw puzzle, like a Rubik's cube. And every single data point pointed me towards one specific year, 5561 BCE. Then same thing I did for Ramayana using Valmiki Ramayana. There are more than 600 specific observations, again solving like a jigsaw puzzle. It took me to 12,209 BC. And then I worked on the Rigveda, and it also showed that definitely some portions of Rigveda are more than 21,000 years old. So my formula that to share with our viewers is the multiplication of 7. So I say it's 7 times 2 is 14, and then 3 times is 7 times 3 is 21. So to simply remember, based on my research, Mahabharata war happened more than 7,000 years ago, that 5561 BC. Ramayana more than 14,000 years ago, that's 12,209 BC. And the oldest portion of Rigveda are more than 21,000 years. We know for sure. So that's going back to 22,000 BC. So that's my summary of my dating work. I have done work on other areas like Surya Siddhanta and Sushruta, whatnot. But this
Yeah.
is
Right.
the core of, because this really helps you define the pathway for antiquity. And this is very critical for understanding the context, of all our civilizational aspects like technology, science, agriculture, astronomy, our philosophy, our religious aspects, whatnot.
Right. Right. Thank you, sir, for that answer. Sir, is it important for an individual to know the specific limits of the antiquity of Bharatiya civilization?
Hmm.
It's not enough to know that it's very old and rather focus on the philosophy, adhyatma, medicine, science, and technology in it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, see, every day we don't have to do the chanting japa of like how old it is, like a specific number. It's not required
Yeah.
for many people, right? For example, when you are getting inoculation for a smallpox, right?
Okay.
Smallpox, right? So when we get this inoculation, we don't need to know the whole history. of when it was invented, how it was practiced, and what exactly goes into it. Some things we can take it on a shraddha, just
Right.
on a reverence, and still the smallpox inoculation would work just fine. When this does becomes important, when there are unreasonable, idiotic, dogmatic attacks on the antiquity of our civilization, and they are coming from where? They are coming from this nonsense of Aryan invasion, okay, for
Right.
example, right? So when, and that has been taught into our textbooks. Okay.
Textbooks,
So
absolutely.
now when that starts happening, and our minds, our young minds, educating minds are corrupted, because it takes, there are sports like that, to spread the foolishness, it doesn't take much, some new foolishness, you can just create some havoc and some advertisement and you do it. But to remove that brainwashing takes a long time. So this nonsense that has been created because of Aryan invasion, like, we have been told that Indian civilization is nothing but invasion after invasion. That's pure nonsense. I mean, there was a migration back and forth going on for thousands of years. For 100,000 plus years, we have the genetics evidence of that. For 100,000 plus years, people are coming in, people are going out, and that's happening. But that has nothing to do with Aryan invasion. So when there is a attack, very very dogmatic, illogical, unscientific attack on our civilizational antiquity, then all of this becomes very important, and this is not optional for any Indian at this time, and therefore they must at least take it on a leap of a shraddha. But preferably, actually, they read my books, my blogs, listen to my videos, and become convinced of it, and then not just stop there, but start telling others, going to
Okay.
schools, going to colleges. That's very important right now. It's not optional at this time where we are.
Right. Absolutely. So, sir, we have seen a lot of distorted versions of history, sir.
Hmm.
So, what is your advice out there who is just beginning to know the Indian culture, Indian civilization? How a young guy or in his early teens or late early 20s who is starting to know about his civilization to start with something out there?
Hmm.
Because a lot of his distortion of facts in India, of course.
Right.
One researcher giving the true fact, you will have 99 researchers giving the wrong facts with the wrong information out there.
Correct. That is true. And also, unfortunately, on our see the I would say the breaking India elements, they do whatever they want to do. They have
Yes,
agenda, they have a plan, they do it. But let's talk about our side for a minute. Our side in the sense the pro India side. I'm using these simple words.
right.
We also, instead of, I mean, there are many great people doing great things, but there also we have over enthusiastic people. They will just take some photo and like start spreading some news somewhere. Like recently there was this, I forgot the word now, but some murti that is found and everyone claiming like it's like 30,000, 40,000 years old.
Okay.
Okay. I forgot now. Anyway, some statue, the bronze statue was there, and it's all. And the CA, the the CA, the whatever American secret agency knows it, and somehow these guys know it. You and me don't know about it. That is the challenge. Now, why do such foolishness when actually we have a evidence that actually a very scientific evidence that goes back to 40,000 years and 50,000 years and 60,000 and 70,000 years. Look at that evidence, study that evidence. It may not be perfect. So, but back to your question, for teenagers, like obviously they must understand that everything they are studying in their textbooks is not correct. They have to
Right.
still study it until the textbooks change, so that they pass their exam with good marks. but
Yeah.
but in parallel, they cannot leave this education of their civilization to the textbooks. In parallel, they have to become familiar. There are many pro-Indic sources now, very authentic sources. Just I'll throw some names, and this is not for teenagers, this is for anyone.
Everyone.
So for example, my works, right? But there are works of Rajiv Malhotra ji, those people who have heard the names, there are works of Rajiv Malhotra, the Michel Danino, Subhash Kak, David Frawley, Premendra Priyadarshi, Professor C.K. Raju, uh, Abhijit Chawda, Sanjay Dikshit, and these all books are not in like a non-fiction, non-fiction form. Some of them are actually very nicely written novels, Like Sanjay Dixit ji has written, I mean, in a 3 series novel, on Krishna Yogeshwara and whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, I'm not so much into reading fiction. I mean, this is not a fiction; it is a historical fiction, you can call it. But people should start reading those books, and there are certain books that people must avoid. I mean, it's okay to read if you are mature enough, but actually you should avoid. Say, they take books of what is this name, Devdutt Patnaik, for example. He has a
Right.
specific agenda, right? I mean, he's a good. He makes very beautiful sketches in his books. I love
Illustrations. Right.
illustrations. I love his sketches. But what he writes, almost he has a attraction for what is weird. So what happens over time? Let's
Okay.
understand what Ityasa is. So we have a Ramayana, we have a Mahabharata, we have a
Right.
Vyasa's Mahabharata, and we have a Valmiki's Ramayana. But
Yeah,
then there are
absolutely.
many more Ramayanas written. Then individual areas has their own stories, because original objective is what? Dharmartha kama mokshanam upadesham
Yeah.
samanvitam purva vrittam kathayuktam ityasam prachakshate. So many new stories develop, and nothing wrong with it. But I'm just using Devdutt Patnaik as an example. There are many others. Rupa Pai is another one to avoid in my mind. I read her books and I found that to be she's a Devdutt Patnaik in making. Okay, she's right. And unfortunately, she's writing the books like what you call Upanishad for children, Rigveda for children, Mahabharata for children, Ramayana for children, and our moms are like very excited. Oh yeah, my book for children. So they should
Right.
avoid. They should know. They have to. Even the parents have to invest some time to understand which books are good, which books are not good. But there are many authors. I can easily think of Sai Swarupa Iyer. She has written wonderful books on Draupadi and many others.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so that there's a huge list. I mean, all parents have to do some homework if they care for the preservation of this civilization. So there are the books, there are resources out there, and with time they are only going to grow up. There will be more.
Yes, sir. Sir, one question with respect to this, I'll ask you. We have seen a lot of fictionalization of the Indian characters like Rama, Krishna, and they are put into history in a very distorted form in the form of books. Again, there will be some authors who are coming up with a lot of fictional characters like this.
Hmm.
With the some stories out when 10 to 20% might be real, some made into superhero form, and a lot of distortions are happening. So will do we need to avoid this fictional books out there of the like Rama, Krishna and all, again of speaking of the Datta Patanaik also out there?
Okay, great question. Let me ask you, besides say Devdutt Patnaik, but do you have somebody in mind, like some other authors or certain
What
books?
about Amish and all?
Okay, Amish Tripathi, right? For example. No,
Yeah.
glad you asked that question. Now, I have not, other than like shuffling through the book for 15 minutes, I have not read any of Amish Tripathi's book. Okay, I have
Okay.
seen it, but I have not read. Then somebody suggested me some other author, like some Sangi, like Krishna's Code or Krishna's Key or something. Like, that book?
Okay, sir. I think I've heard of it.
Ashwin Sangi, right?
Ashwini Sangi, right?
Ashwini
Right.
Sangi, right. So I have
Yeah.
heard that name. Somebody actually gifted that book to me, and I have had no chance to read it. Okay, so I cannot talk about the content of it, but I'll tell you this. Based on, I have listened to Amish Tripathi, in Amish Tripathi in YouTube. Okay, and at least what I listened to, what he said, I did not like it. In fact, I did not like it at all. Now I cannot talk about his books. Okay, I don't know that. But what I will say is, I was because of that, I was talking to one of my nephew, and I said, "Hey,
Okay.
because he has read it, I said, what do you think of these books?" And he said, "So I'm just telling you one data point. That
Okay.
is not to generalize, but he said because of those books, and I think he was referring to Amish Tripathi's books, or maybe that Sangi book. He
Okay.
said, although that is nothing to do with the real character of Krishna or Rama or whatnot, it
Absolutely.
kind of made them curious and made him go back to the original. He has not read it yet. My nephew has not read it, but at least he's thinking
Okay.
of reading it. So if that is the benefit, I would say to that extent, the benefit is good. But
Good.
as a general rule, if you ask me, and so historical fictions are not bad at all. Like Sanjay Dixit's book, I read that, Krishna Yogeshwara, for example. I loved it.
Okay.
I will recommend to everyone to read it. Sai Swarupa Iyer's books, okay, I have read in a significant portion. I did not complete any one of them, but Draupadi or whatnot, and that's because of my other time commitments. So I read like 10 books in parallel, and so no book is completed. But I would
Okay.
encourage people to read her books. So some books, even when they are based on our character, our narrative, ancient Indian narratives, and they do not deviate from the original message, they do not distort the whole character. Those kind of novels are useful, but others actually can create a problem, and to recover people from that backwards can be a huge problem. So just to summarize, I have not read Amish Tripathi or this Ashwini Sanghi, but if they are not they're just taking the names and they're just going distorting in a different way. They may not be
Yes,
doing like
absolutely.
a Sanjay, may not be doing like this Patnaik guy. Still, I would not recommend reading of such books, because when if people read those and come back thinking that is the character of Krishna or that is the character of Rama,
Yes.
then someone like me or many others, we have a unnecessarily challenging times ahead of us to keep on telling bhai aisa nahi hua. Even the TV serial does that. See, TV serial also will do something and we have to say nahi, nahi, whatever you watch on TV is not there in the Mahabharata, like certain aspect.
Yeah.
So to that extent, they actually create a problem. To the extent they encourage our young generation to go back to the original books, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and others read it. To that extent,
Okay.
that is a useful contribution.
Yes, sir. So coming to the next question, of course you do know that there are 100 plus others who also claim that the year of Mahabharata war is different than what you are claiming. It's the same for Ramayana.
Yeah.
Why should I trust in your claims and not those others? Why should I put a stress on your claims itself?
Okay. No, very good. Great question. In fact, I would say no one should blindly trust my
Yeah.
claims. I don't want anyone to trust them blindly. However,
Okay.
not everyone.
That includes you, sir.
What is it?
Does that include you also?
Yeah, no, that includes me also at the beginning, right? For example, so
Okay.
no, great point. So I'll give the first answer and I'll come to you. Like,
Yeah, of
it
course.
does that include me? So I would say, but there are few ways to go around it. Not every person would be interested in actually going into the details and understanding and so on. Actually,
Absolutely.
everyone should do it. That would be ideal. That's what my preferred method would be. But I would say some people can take it on a leap of faith. Shraddha for now, and they can talk about it. The next one
Okay.
is the better than that, okay, better than Shraddha is actually someone studies deeply my works and feels convinced about it. Okay, that's better. I will tell you even better than that. That doesn't mean everyone has to be convinced. That's not what I'm expecting. If they're not
Okay.
convinced, then they should brutally, scientifically, and logically critique it. Okay, and they should critique it and they should write about it. They should do the videos about it. Now there are few, actually, I don't know if you know that, but there are 3 or 4 books written on my book, critiquing
All
my
right.
books, critiquing my books. And unfortunately, I mean, again, I love that the very fact they have written, that is the best compliment they can give me, if,
Absolutely.
right? But as I said, I would prefer that they do it brutally, logically, scientifically. Unfortunately, they have not done that, but that's okay. I mean, I'm very happy what they've done. So somebody, the third person, they can actually read, either they can critique themselves or they can read these works, they can read my works and then decide for themselves which one makes more sense. Okay, so now there are a comparison just for my works. Going beyond that, if somebody says my date is not correct and there is actually a better date, better than mine, because my claim is that my claims, I'm not saying it's possibly the last word, but I'm saying my claims are the best among all available claims for the dating of Mahabharata or Ramayana as of today, bar none, no exceptions, no ifs, no buts, by any standard of imagination, by the Shad Darshanas, by modern science, by evidence, whatever you want to do, and not just limited to astronomy. But the next one is, if somebody feels they have a better claim, then they should come and says, what is this Nilesh Oak talking? What did he eat or what did he drink when he wrote that book? Here is my better claim, and they should come up with that. And if their claim is better, I would tell you, I would be the most happiest person. The next day, when I'm convinced that their claim is better, I will stop talking about my claim. I will take their claim and start going around the world like what I do right now, talking about that
That's
claim.
so good of you, sir, to
Because
accept
well,
the fact.
yeah, but because it's not about me, in Marathi, And Marathi, Bengali, by the way, I don't know if you can understand. I understand Bengali. Now let's try
Okay.
on you if you understand Marathi. This is Jnaneshwar, 13th century saint, who wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. He has written, it's a very, very beautiful thing. It's not about the you individually name, in Marathi has said, this is 8th century, 13th century Marathi, 800 years ago. Asate pana lopo, nama rupa harapo. Meaning, my existence, let it just go away. My name, let people forget my name. So it's not about your individual thing, but the truth that should continue. So whatever is the truth or the best approximation to the truth, in this case for the timing of Mahabharata Ramayana, that should continue. So your question was, am I being skeptical about my own claim, right? That was, well, yeah, you have to be. In science speak, there is no final word. Einstein has said, the best theory of the time is only in principle one data point away from being falsified. And when that happens, you should cherish it, because for example, Einstein showed how the Newton's theory is false,
Yeah.
and Newton showed how Kepler's is false, Kepler showed how Copernicus is false, and Copernicus showed how Ptolemy's is false. But it's also true that without Newton there is no Einstein, without Kepler there is no Newton, without Copernicus there is no Kepler. And that's how our progress happens. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm very happy to trash my own theories moment somebody comes with a better one, and in a very objective fashion. So I have explained in my works, in my other lectures, the very specific criteria, for where that if there is a better date for Ramayana or Mahabharata, where it will fall, where it should fall. It cannot be just randomly anywhere.
Right. Right. So, sir, a topic for today's discussion was how does the Mahabharata impact the Indian civilization? It's a very vast topic. You cannot just
Right.
uh, complete the session in 45 minutes. It will take days and days and years, maybe.
Yes.
So, sir, any specific things you like to say about what impacted Indian civilization in a way, in a short way out there? It's not possible. Some
Very good.
way, some.
Very good. See, if we have to look at the civilization post Mahabharata, so if you look at all the Purana descriptions, or all the genealogies for different kings and different whatnot, you will always find the connection is always tried to be made to Mahabharata. For example, between Mahapadmananda and Parikshit, that
Yes.
data is not complete. That data is very defective data, but it exists. People try to see as much as they can, and they always try to make it connection to Mahabharata. So in that sense, post Mahabharata history is very much it relies on the accurate and precise dating of Mahabharata. That's why it's important. If you
Okay.
want to go before Mahabharata, because Ramayana is before Mahabharata, so therefore knowing Mahabharata when it happened becomes important. Okay, so and then Rigveda is also important, because Ramayana mentions Rigveda, Mahabharata mentions Rigveda, so that helps us define this time. But somebody will say, is it just all about the timing, dating? No, absolutely not. In fact, dating, see, everyone wears watches, so now we have a smartphone, and we are not like always looking at a time, like because we get so passionate about time. No, because that becomes a reference point how to accomplish our other tasks. So now, in civilizationally speaking, what happens? What is civilization? I mean, we have accomplishments for the dharma, artha, kama, moksha, right? Those are the objectives, and for that we have science, we have technology, we have agriculture, we have domesticated animals, we have medicine to keep our health well, right? We have the
Yeah.
shastra and astra to protect from the bad forces, right? We need the
Right.
means of travel, we need the commerce, like navigation, to become prosperous. And all of this, therefore, say navigation, agriculture needs what? Astronomy. So astronomy development came into being. To keep our health well, the medicine whole development came into being. All of this, if you want to understand in the context of the world civilization, we need this timing. For example, I'll give you some quick couple of examples. The Sushruta Samhita, or Sushruta himself. If you
Okay.
go to Wikipedia right now, it will tell you that Sushruta was 600 BCE. And then they will start telling you the Greeks were before and they did this and that and so on. I have shown with the evidence using Mahabharata evidence, but evidence from everywhere else, including
That flap
Sushruta.
theory, sir, right? That
Huh?
flap
Yeah,
you're giving.
the flap was an example. That was kind of an
Okay.
example. That was the hook to
That
get
was very
people.
interesting, sir. That
That was, yeah, that was great. But that
I've
was to
never
get
heard of such an example out there.
that was to get people's attention and then to tell them when Sushruta actually did this. So
Yes.
Sushruta's times goes more than 8,000 years ago, more than
Okay.
6,000 BC versus 600 BC. I mean, what a gap, right? Same thing for agriculture. Like people ask me, oh, but you are saying Ramayana happened 14,000 years ago, but where was agriculture? Because Sita, the plow, and everything. And I said,
Yeah.
why don't you guys read peer-reviewed journals? There is evidence in Indian subcontinent for established agriculture going back to 16,000 BC, going back to 43,000 BC. These are peer-reviewed papers. So what I'm saying is, these all timelines of Ramayana and Mahabharata, they start fitting into this broader evidence. The whole Saraswati geology evidence, hydrology evidence, morphodynamics of rivers evidence, most of this evidence, Vishal, came
Yes.
after I published my books. That is also the beauty of it. And they perfectly match like a jigsaw puzzle into the dates that I have come up for Mahabharata Ramayana. So that
So
increases.
we can term you as the Brahma of the Indian Indology out there.
You can say whatever you want. I prefer to be just Nilesh Oak, and that's perfectly fine. But my point is, that increases our confidence, because what has happened over last 200, 300 years with all these nefarious forces is that
Yeah.
they have made a significant distortion in the sense of this is all mythology and all that nonsense. No, this is more than, I mean, this is the accuracy of it should raise the goosebumps. It is so accurate and so precise that it should raise goosebumps. Do you know what I tell in astronomy? I said the Ramayana and Mahabharata are acting as a golden standard, calibration standards to validate modern astronomy. I use modern astronomy to come up with the timing of Ramayana and Mahabharata, but I am saying these Ramayana and Mahabharata are acting as golden standards to validate modern astronomy. This is a goosebump moment. But many people are just far away from it. They are stuck into this. "Arey, ye kuch hua hi nahi, this is all fiction," and so these all very important to establish this. And why is this important? Because if we understand what was possible, what was accomplished by our ancestors, we say we can do it. We don't have to necessarily wait for America to figure it out before we can do it. And that's the message for why this is important for now, why this is important for future.
Sir, I must say in camera only that you have very good visualizations or a small presentation. Will you mind just showing us the chronology of the Mahabharata in a like presentation way out there?
Chronology, let's see. Let me
Yeah.
see.
So I'll share the screen out there.
Yeah, please. Okay, now when you see the screen, let me know.
Yeah.
Do you see it?
No, it's not yet visible now.
Oh,
But
okay, hold on. Maybe
you need
did
to
I?
go for the share screen option, I think.
Okay, hold on. So let me go there. Okay, and
I'll just
now,
add you.
yeah.
Yeah. No. Right.
Now you see it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So quickly, I'll say, just answer that question, why we should bother about the dating, because it provides us a sheet anchor. It gives us the context of space and time to understand our science, technology, whatnot. That's for Mahabharata and all this. What we are looking for in a science speak is the best claim among all available claims. Okay. The best approximation to the truth. That's all we can expect as a
Okay.
mortals, most likely scenario. That is what we are looking for. Okay. And so now to do this, how do we do it? I'll go fast. Scientific acumen, logical reasoning, tantra yukti, vyapti jnana, Hitchens razor, Hanlon's razor. For example, Hitchens razor, what can, if somebody says something, "Arey, mujhe to aisa suna," what can be, so the Hitchens razor says what can be asserted without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. Maine aisa suna, that can be a good starting point, but otherwise it has no value. Quickly, the method that I use, what you see inside the triangle is basically the five
Right.
elements are the five elements of the hard science, the logic of scientific discovery, the logic of scientific method. There is no better tool that, for example, we have or even the West has, all the peer-reviewed papers, many of them don't match this strong criteria. Many of them are just opinions here and there. But 3 points that we have, I'll quickly mention, and these are the foundations of our civilization, Hindu Dharma. See, Vijnana Buddhi, Tantra Yukti, and Tarka Shastra. And this is my name. I gave it Ashtakaran Kshipti. So Vijnana Buddhi means Vichar Swatantriya, the freedom of thought. The freedom of expression, they talk about it, but as soon as you show the freedom of expression, they go gaga. Okay, Tantra Yukti is a doer. Tantra Yukti is a doer's attitude. Meaning you cannot just say, "Arey bhai, aap aisa karo." I get like 20, 50 suggestions every week. Do this. Arey, why don't you do this? Utter nonsense. This is very tamasic. No, if somebody feels something, they have to start doing it. That is a endurance in conduct, endurance in action, the doer's mentality. And then Niti Dharma, that we should be going after the truth and not just trying to be in a limelight. Like when we discuss, you said my name, if I'm a Brahma of whatever the modern Indian civilization, whatnot. No, it is not about the individuals. Now we get joy while doing this, but it should be about the truth. Satyena labhyas tapasa yashatma. And then that goes to Satya, Seva, and Sanyam, and so on. Okay. But I'll get to the. So you asked me like before, how did I do this? Now I said the modern science, but that modern science in our Shat Darshanas is right here on the screen. On the left side, you have the logical reasoning from Nyaya Darshana, 16 elements.
Okay.
On the left side, you have 11 elements from all our Shat Darshanas. That's a scientific method. This is the model, scientific model that I said. Now, if we say in English, like people think it came from the West.
Absolutely.
If we say Gautama's Nyaya Darshan and we say Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda, Pramanani, then they think, oh, somebody is chanting some mantra. What do I supposed to do with that? No, it is a science that is being told. Here is a quick summary, like one-page summary. If we start from today where we are, 21st century, and go backwards, if we go to 5561 BC, that's like 5,000 plus 2,000, so 7,581 years ago, Mahabharata. If we go to Ramayana, that's like 14,000 years ago. And the oldest parts of Rigveda, we definitely know now that more than 22,000 years ago. And just quickly, I'll show you, against this context, try to understand where the European Enlightenment happened. And if you try to connect with the Kolkata, like Sir William Jones coming to Kolkata, you can see that timing is right there into that 1765 or whatnot. So that's how they started taking our knowledge. They took there are these documented studies like Welcome, the company called Welcome. The CEO sent a person in India, and I forgot his name. His job was to extract every single document, talk to every single Vaidya in India, and find out whatever useful he can for 3 years, document it and bring it to United Kingdom. They did the same thing with Surya Siddhanta. They did the same thing with the documents. They trusted our documents.
But did they extract anything out of it, or it is still like
they absolutely did. They absolutely did. I mean, this is not limited to surgery. This is limited to medicine. I mean, that will be a separate talk, Vishal. Like the whole inoculation, also was gone from India. They changed it into, meaning Edward Jenner definitely made improvements, and those are to be very praiseworthy. I mean, that's not to take away credit from them.
But the root was in the Indian civilization.
Not only roots, actually, there are reports written to Royal Society even before Edward Jenner was born, written from Kolkata, by the way. And this is the titles. You can see those in books of Dharampal, where these are from 1727, 1767. So this Edward Jenner was born in 1749. So there is an article 1727. The article goes into the inoculation method of Vrindavan Brahmins in Bengal. Okay, so the Banaras Brahmins a certain time will come and inoculate the population of Bengal when they know every 4 years there is a possibility of a smallpox. Very, very brilliantly defined method and a very powerful success rate. Anyways, and then that gives you that again Aryan invasion theory and the nonsense of it. I'll stop here, but any of my work I will tell you. I don't know now how I remove. Okay, just let me see.
Shall I remove it for you?
Yeah, you can remove for me. Okay. Yeah.
Now it's
so any of my work, and it doesn't have to be only my works. There is a Dr. Abhijit Chawda. I'm hopefully I'm saying the correct name. I mean, he's my friend. We are connected, but with my gray hair, I forget the names or say the wrong names. He gave recently talk on the Aryan invasion nonsense. Wonderful talk at Sangam Talks. I mean,
Sangam talks, right?
so nowadays with this all modern technology, reading books is very important. There is no substitute for that. But listening to talks on the YouTube and all that, that's also very, very useful. But just to my work, like you can take Ramayana, you can take Mahabharata, you can take Rigved, you can take just my work on Saraswati civilization, just Saraswati river, you can take Sushruta, you can take Surya Siddhanta, and any of these individually destroy Aryan invasion theory instantaneously.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So, sir, we'll almost close the session with one or two questions more, sir.
Sure.
Sir,
Do you want to take any questions from any, if there are any questions from
I
audience?
don't think there are any questions because people
Okay.
are too mesmerized watching you, I think.
or I did not tell them anything new, or they did not understand what I said. No, just kidding.
Sir, this question: what do our epics teach us beyond telling us how deep is the antiquity of a civilization? Like what?
Yeah, great. In fact, how deep the antiquities is not their main objective at all. Okay, they definitely put a huge value on it, and it is done very well by both of our epics. But again, let's go back to the definition of itihas. Okay, because Ramayana and Mahabharata are itihas. That's how they are called. Arsha Kavya. It is comes in
Sir,
a kavya.
can I just interrupt you for
please?
Yeah. So I think we have one question out here.
Okay.
Can you just differentiate between itihas and mythology out there?
Right. Okay. So yeah, let's do that too. So for example, that doesn't have to be two different answers. So let's understand the meaning of purpose of itihas. So dharmartha kama mokshanam upadesham samanvitam. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Like living a virtuous life. Okay. Artha, like getting what you call resources for your happy living, but also finding a psychological wonderful meaning, artha, in a sense of a meaning also. Kama, fulfilling your desires, and then moksha, you like feeling that you had a worthy life, for now and for future. Upadesham samanvitam, like the advice, suggestions, guidance. That is the objective of Ityasa. And how is it told to us? Purva Vruttam, the ancient events are used to convey this guidance for the benefit of achieving dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So in this process, what happens that there are actually Purva Vruttam, the old ancient factual events are made use of. However, it is told to us in a form that is a Katha Vruttam. Okay, so in the process, a mythologization of the some things can happen, and this is not limited to Ramayana or Mahabharata. This is limited even right now. Say if you watch a World War II movies right now, the Nazis and this and that, any World War II movie pattern, something like this. Or right now, if you hear the story of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, somebody who might have worked with him, or Raja Shivaji, King Shivaji, Rana Pratap, Karl Marx, like for the communist side, when they are going to tell their story, there will be like this told with the bravery and the intelligence and whatnot, right? So these some mythologized elements do come into picture. In fact, we don't have to wait for that person to go away. I will tell you, just like take this one, like people attaching doctor to my name.
Yeah.
I never claimed anywhere. When somebody tries, I try to tell Baba re nahi hai mera doctor, but wo mante hi nahi. So somebody attaching a doctor to my name is a mythologization. बाद में somebody will say कि अरे वो कभी डॉक्टर था ही नहीं लेकिन वो खुद को डॉक्टर बोलता था. People, I never said it, but now people use that. So I think some things gets added. Some elements that's one answer. That's the second element is when we don't understand some of the biographical details of some person, then some people or our natural human psyche, we tend to add it, like fill in the blanks. Okay, it actually even happens to our body. So it's like it's not just our mind. For example, I don't know if you know these experiments. A great scientist, V.S. Ramachandran, Professor V.S.
Okay.
Ramachandran, in neurology, and he shows those experiments. But just to make it short, suppose there is a circle that you show, and the circle is complete only 75% or 80%.
Okay.
Dot dot dot, and it is shown to your eyes, and you close one eye. Do you know what that does? Your one of the eye actually, for your own imagination, fills the remaining dots. You see a full circle,
Okay.
although the circle
Okay.
is not there. He has shown those experiments. The same thing happens, and a biography, when it has gaps, it might get filled with something that becomes hagiography. Like people try to fill in the things. Like it happens to the stories of our saints. So some elements which are not factually true, but they could be true, might get added. Then the stories build on themselves, like a ghost stories sometimes. So the elements of mythology gets added, but this is not an exclusive domain of ancient Indian narratives. That has happened all over
Absolutely.
the world. If you take a Bible, the Jesus, certain story of a Jesus, you will find now people are here, America, they question whether Jesus existed or not. But
Yeah.
India, nobody wants to question. That is the problem. They will question
Absolutely.
Ramayana, Krishna.
Ramayana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, here they will question same person, certain story. If you listen to Luke, book of Luke versus Mark
Yeah.
versus something, you will get different interpretation. Now somebody should ask, how can the same story can have different details? The same thing happens. But fortunately, the method that I just showed you, if we look at the evidence and insist that we will go after that evidence which is objectively testable, then it allows us to separate the grains from the chaff.
All
And then
right.
whether to believe in the mythological narrations is up to you. In a Shraddha, you may believe it. Like, when the Panchatantra stories are told, and a snake goes to the fox and he says, please come to my house.
Yeah.
Okay. Only idiot might be surprised, right? Say, how come snake is talking to the fox?
Yeah.
Right, the grown
Right.
up idiot, I'm saying. The children, actually, honestly, children don't have a problem with a snake talking to the fox. It is the grown ups who struggle with it. So that is the answer. So did I
Right.
answer your question? Like, what is the benefit of ityasa? The benefit of ityasa is the dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Quickly, I'll tell you very short story. When Gandhiji was doing the Nai Talim, like the new Gurukula type of system he was establishing, and in Sabarmati ashram, and he asked one very old lady who was also part of the ashram, but she was illiterate in the sense that she did not have a degree certificate. Only in that sense she was illiterate.
Okay.
Otherwise, I find many people with a 3 degree certificates and completely illiterate.
Illiterate.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so they said, you should teach itihas. This is very interesting for that. And the lady was shocked and surprised. She said, "Oh, me? I mean, I have not studied anything. I don't know anything of history." And Gandhiji says, I don't care. I don't want you to worry about teaching when, who's Ashoka came to power, and when Ashoka renounced the power. Don't worry about it. All I want you to do is share your life experiences of last 70 years, 80 years, however old she was, with the students. See, that definition perfectly matches with dharmartha kama mokshanam upadesham samanvitam. It's a upadesh. It is the advice, guidance that we have learned from the past and conveying that. And for that, these both books, people should read it. First reading will not do it. They will have to read multiple times. They will be amazed. In fact, that's why the Mahabharata has this definition. Whatever is in the Mahabharata,
That's
yeah, right, outside, whatever is outside is in the Mahabharata. Very rarely you will find something that is not in Mahabharata but found outside Mahabharata. And this is a statement on a faith, on a Shraddha, but you have to read it multiple times to believe that that is true.
great. Great. Sir, I think we should close it. But again, we have one question popping up. Shall I just ask you and end
Yeah,
it?
that's fine. And you decide when to stop. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Saugata Royji has asked, Nilesh sir, if possible, please guide us how to deal with the pakshaks, the false slopes in Mahabharata or other scripts.
yeah, like what you call that, like interpolated, or right, those shloka, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I think
Okay.
so.
Right. So again, now great question. Again, all our ancient Indian narratives, like all the ancient narratives of the world, has this problem. Over time, what will happen is some things, the interpolation, some things will get inserted. Other things, when they're copying from the palm leaves to the next palm leaves to the paper, The person who is copying, he's been given a task. He may not be expert in Sanskrit. He may not be expert in a
Okay.
script and whatnot. Raswa, Dirga, they will make some mistakes, right? Then somebody will take the notes on that palm leaves, some student. Those notes might get copied. So we have all kinds of errors that are into our documents. Okay. How do we separate those? Again, the same answer, which is to say, if you are trying to solve a specific problem, you try to propose a theory in such a way that it becomes objectively testable, not just like somebody has written, therefore it is true, even in written in Mahabharata or Ramayana or Puranas. That is exactly what I did. So, for example, when I tell you 300 astronomy observations in Mahabharata, 600 astronomy observations in Ramayana, each of these can be objectively tested with mathematical calculations or astronomy software today to check that they are valid for 12,209 or 5561 BC. And it doesn't have to be always astronomy. I don't know if you have time, but I'll quickly give you example of
Yeah, sure, you can, of course, no issue.
example. It doesn't have to be like some complicated scientific experiment. It is a very simple logical experiment can do too. In Valmiki Ramayana, now this is the beauty.
Okay.
In Valmiki Ramayana, we have, the question is, how old was Ram when he left for Vanvas? Now, this is not some complicated thing. Okay, in the Valmiki Ramayana itself, if somebody reads it and every time some reference comes and writes it down, that person will come to a confusion, because in the Valmiki Ramayana that we have today, we will get two sets of references. One set of reference leads to the conclusion that as if Ram was 25 years old when he left for Vanvas.
Yeah.
There is another set of evidence that leads to the conclusion that he was 17 or 18 years old. Okay. In the same Valmiki Ramayana. Now, how do we solve the problem? I mean, there were no two Rama, like one Ram 25 and another 17, 18. So how we do that? Actually, then we put that problem and we say, okay, let's see what else evidence I can find. And I have done that. I have written a blog on it. The name of the blog is like the Age of Rama on my nileshok.wordpress.com. If somebody can search, they can find it. Then I looked at all additional evidence and I collected on both sides that will support either this or that, not like some bias, like I want to go for 17, 18 or 25. Samyak Jnana, that is very important. You have to have a balanced attitude, not like you already have an answer in mind and you're trying to prove that answer. Okay, that is done by the leftist. They already have an answer. Now they're looking for evidence, to push that. So when I did that exercise, it led me to the conclusion that 17, 18 years old, that the fact he was 17, 18 year old makes more sense. There is a much more evidence in support of that versus this 25-year-old. So my point is, we may not be successful in every case, but if we give effort, if we put effort, many cases we are by luck very successful in resolving those problems and trying to figure out which one is a like prakshepit, which one is a prakshepit. For example, last one, the one that I have found, which are interpolated. Okay, they usually, I mean, I don't know, Vishal, I forgot to ask you, like, what is your background, like a mathematics background or something
So
like that?
till 12 I had this one with science background, but now I'm shifted to English and all.
Right. But irrespective of that, in the mathematics
That is
or
very
science or
well.
statistics, or we talk about degrees of freedom. How much minimum piece of information you need.
Right.
What you will find typically, this is my experience, that is not a guarantee, that interpolated prakshipta shlok tend to have much more information than required.
Okay.
Much more. Meaning, for example, if I tell you, so right now, today we are talking Sunday morning, right? And I said, last Wednesday, I went to so and so shop. Then I don't need to tell you last Wednesday and the day was this and it was 2020, year was 2020. I don't need to give you that. You know that you can easily find out. If I said last Wednesday, 3 days ago, right? But a prakshipta shlok usually will have too much information given to you. That is just something I found over my last 25 years of research. That's not a guarantee to find that is a prakshipta shlok. But if you put any evidence to the objective testing, it splits it into what you can trust and what needs to be thrown out. Now, my important suggestion is that even when we find something prakshipta, we should not throw it away. We should only identify that this appears to be prakshipta and leave it at that. Because someone maybe much smarter person than us will come back and actually say it's not prakshipta. Actually, it makes sense. Because why I'm saying this, because that happened to me, in a different positive way. Some of the shlok from Mahabharata
Okay.
that were removed by critical edition, Bhandarkar Oriental critical edition, they thought this
Okay.
doesn't fit into their critical edition, and they don't throw it away, they write it down. Even those astronomy references match for 5561 BCE. So something that they thought is a Prakshipta actually turned out to be not Prakshipta. Therefore, I'm saying don't throw it away. Just identify, like what Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute did.
Okay. Okay. So ending with the last question again.
Okay.
What is Nilesh Oak's next work coming to be? And can you just brief about your books out there? It's always good to tell our viewers out there.
Yeah, let me see if I have them here. Yeah, so my brief work, my next work actually is I'm working on brief history of in Hindu civilization. And so what I want to do is create a framework for around 100,000 years of timeline.
Okay.
Because I'm finding evidence that definitely goes up to 100,000 years and even longer. Granted,
Okay.
as you go back in the past, the evidence gets less and less. It becomes scant. But I want to create a framework where, as the new researchers, myself, other researchers, my co-researchers, and even future researchers, when they come, they already have a template, the platform where to go and fill in the blanks. So that is my project. There are a few. I'm working on 20 different courses, by the way, online courses related to teaching Indian civilization. So one of my basic course is going to be the introduction to Indian calendar. And actually I started
so
on
when are you planning, Nilesh, to introduce these courses out there? Like
when or where?
When?
Okay, it's a one-man show. It's a one-man show, so it's limited by all these different, I mean I have to focus on certain things, and that's a tough one. But so I thought my books were here. Well, they're all not here, but I'll just mention this one. When did the Mahabharata war happen? This was the first book that I published in 2011. In India, it is available through Subbu Publications. Okay, because this is printed in America and it cost like $15 or something. But Subbu Publication is a purely non-profit initiative in India that will cost like 350 rupees, home delivered and all that. So first book, when did the Mahabharata war happen? Second book, the historic Ram. Okay, that was published in 2014. That talks about the dating of Ramayana. In India, we had to change the title to 12,209 BC. I made it easier for people in India.
Right.
Okay, you don't have to remember when the Ramayana happened. It's there, 12,209 BC. And the third book, Bhishma Nirvan, that is, all three are published by Subbu Publications in India. And if you are outside, those people who might be listening to this outside India, then they should go to Amazon and they can buy it from Amazon. Okay, what they should not try, because they asked me the question, can that book in Subbu Publication be delivered to America same price? No, that doesn't work like that. The major cost is the shipping cost. It's a huge.
Right. And Nilesh sir, any of your blogs you would like to suggest?
Yeah. So my blog site is nileshoak.wordpress.com, and I have more than 500, close to 600 articles there. Many times those are my notes, as I'm doing research, those are my research notes, but people will find them very useful. It fills the gaps between what might not be covered in the book, because what happens, it may be a very short topic, like how old is Rama, and then if I have to do that in my book, it may take 30-40 pages. I don't want to use that space, so then I put it on a blog. It's tremendous useful information, 500, 600 plus blog articles. And YouTube videos, like there are, I don't know now, I don't know the number. For a long time, I'm saying 100 plus YouTube videos. My guess is now they may be 200 plus YouTube videos.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nilesh sir, for giving us this time. And next time in India, please come over to Kolkata.
Okay, we will definitely make a point. Okay, very good.
Yes. Have a nice day, sir. Thank you.
And I will try the Roshgolla,
Oh, yeah. You're gonna get it from me, from the best shops out there.
Okay, perfect. So
I
just stop sharing, and that should do it, right?
Yeah. Fine. So I'm ending the broadcast, sir. Thank you. Perfect. Have a nice day. We'll talk later.
Thank you.